Hi everyone, my name is Alia Tayyabi and I am responsible for the project Book Clubs Across Border, via which we are connecting Pakistan and Afghanistan, and we are super excited. We had a session in the morning between Islamabad and Balkh, and it was a wonderful session. We had a great time. We got talking and we spoke about a book. They were reading The Crow Eaters by Babsi Sidwa. That book will come to you soon as well. Before I start with the book club programming, why don't you guys introduce yourselves so I have like a name to a face?
Uh, okay. I think first of all I should talk a little bit about myself. I'm Mushtaba Juya, the coordinator of the program in Kabul, and these are the students whom I have chosen for this particular program. I'd like to start from here. Very shortly, you can just say your name, the name of your school, and also tell about your grade. Okay, which grade are you? Okay, so we'll start from here. Yes.
And then hello. I hope that you're fine. My name is Farona Rahimi. I'm in Paradise High School and I'm 18 years old.
So that's Parwana.
Hi, I am Brenda Salebi, a student of grade 10 at Paradise High School.
Hello, I'm Muhammad Ali Asif. I'm in Elementary High School, and I'm the.
Hello, I'm Mukhlas Sultani. I study Nasfar High School. I'm 20 years old. Hello, I am Sayyid.
And you can uncover your mask if you want, okay? At least you can know who you are.
I am in Paradise High School.
And Ali?
Hello, my name is Ali and my last name is Ali, and I'm a student of Paradise High School and I'm grade 7.
Grade 7. Thank you.
In the name of Allah, my name is Islam, my last name is Ahmadi. I'm in grade 9 in Junior High School.
And how old are you, Fizza?
I'm 15 years old.
Okay, thank you. And Bahar?
Hello, my name is Bahar Yusufi. I'm from Paradise High School. I'm grade 6 and I'm 16 years old.
Thank you, Bahar. Yes.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Haida Hamadi. I'm 18 years old and 12th grade at Paradise High School.
Hi, I'm Smaya Khashi. I'm a student in Paradise High School. I'm 12th grade. And also, I'm 18 years old.
Okay, and then hello and good afternoon. I'm Fatima Zara and I study in Paradise High School in 10th grade. And I'm 15 years old.
And finally?
Hello, I'm Yanna Khashi. I'm 16 years old and I'm 9th grade in Paradise High School.
Okay, so this is our crew.
All right. So great, wonderful to have all of you here. I'm super excited. Unfortunately, the school that we had paired you with in Pakistan could not be a part of the project due to some unforeseeable reasons. So inshallah, next month when we connect, we will connect you with a school. I apologize. But hey, don't worry. I and my colleague Hurmat love books. This book that you read, The Wandering Falcon, is amongst our favorite, and we have read it multiple times, so we would love to talk to you about it. So before we start, what do you think of short stories? Do you, as people who read, enjoy short stories more, or do you enjoy a longer narrative?
So anyone who wants to talk, just raise your hand. Okay, you can talk very freely. Okay, Wahida is going to talk. And Wahida, you can unmask. Okay, we have social distance. Okay, thank you.
I love books. I'm a book lover and I love reading novels. Both of them short stories and novels, but I am more interested in novels. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Wahida.
Did you enjoy reading The Wandering Falcon? Was there any story that kind of connected with you personally? Was there a story that you read and you were like, hey, I can imagine this happening? Like, you know, like when I read a book, what happens to me is that the book takes me on the journey. So I try to imagine a character that I could connect with, and then I become that character for the duration of the book that I'm reading. Right? So for me, when I was reading The Wandering Falcon, it was really difficult to connect with one narrative or one character. But what really resonated with me was the eye with which the writer had looked at each character and built on that character in a way that we had become so engaged with them. So I could feel their pain. And even though a lot of the things were left unsaid, I could still connect with it. Did that happen with anyone?
You know, there was a big connection with me and Thomas. You know, he lost his family because they were escaped from their house. But there was a connection between me and Thomas, and I loved him. That it was very strange, a very strange connection. I cannot, you know, there are some things you cannot say them by words. You just have to feel them.
I completely understand. Like, I remember when I read the story about the girl who gets married to the man who has the bear, and she's struggling, and then she leaves him, and then where her journey takes her. I couldn't be in her shoes because my circumstances are very different from hers. But still, I remember that I felt extremely, you know, like I could feel her pain. I could feel the emotions that she was going through. And it really resonated with me as a person. So, by the way, I have my colleague here with me. Her name is Hurmat. She's joining from Lahore, which is another city in Pakistan. So I'd like her to introduce herself and tell you her way of looking at the book as well.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
We don't
Can
have
you guys...
a picture.
Yeah, hi. I just turned on my camera. Hi guys, I'm Hurmat. I'm based in Lahore, and right now I'm sitting at the place where Minar Pakistan is. So sorry guys, but I was researching about. Sometimes when I'm reading a book, I get more interested about the writer. So I was reading up about Jameel Ahmed, the writer of the book. And what I found really interesting was that he wrote the manuscript of this book for like 35 years. And when he was 78 years old, when he got retired from his post, from his position, then he published the book. So I found that part really fascinating and inspiring, that if someone like Jameel published when he's like in his late 70s. Hello?
Yeah, hi, Hurmat, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I was just talking about Jameel Ahmed, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some problem in your calling. You having a good voice of you.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? At you.
Can you say again?
We couldn't hear the last part only. It was about Jamil Ahmed and 35 years of writing that book.
Yeah, I was just talking about the writer Jameel Ahmed, that he wrote the manuscript of the book and he kept it unpublished for like 35 years. And when he was 78 years old, then he published the book. There was some reason, some circumstances, and maybe he got lazy, and maybe he was like, maybe it's not worthy to be published. But there were these two girls in Lahore who pushed him to publish this book. and they made him sure that this book is something which people will love to read. And he published it, he pushed it out as a collection of short stories, which it is, but he pushed it out for a competition. Yeah, that's what the article is saying. So I found it really inspiring and fascinating that if someone like Jameel Ahmed can publish a book in his late 80s, then why cannot someone like me or someone like you? I was just saying that most of the time when I'm reading a book, especially a collection of short stories, I get really inspired by the author. Maybe you guys know about that this Japanese writer Haruki Murakami. He is also a short story writer, and there is this I think writer. He writes short fictional horror creepy stories. His life is also really fascinating. I also feel like there is this certain charm to short story writers because they can grip you, they can get your attention in like a handful of pages and leave you fascinated for like a good amount of time.
Yeah, that's the art of writing. Not everybody can do that in pages, right?
Exactly. Not everyone can do that.
And you know, if you ever were to talk about writing, it is said that poetry is the most difficult form of writing to to ace, because you have to say in 2 lines or 4 lines or 6 lines what authors would take books 300, 400 pages to write about. And then a little less difficult than poetry is short story writing, because like in short stories you have to keep true to what the essence of your storytelling is, but compress it into a short format so the punch remains there, the essence of the story remains there, but the length of the story is less, but not the emotions that are transmitted through the storyteller, right? And then when you have a novel, which you will read as we progress, because our collection of 12 books is a very interesting amalgamation of short stories, essays, and novels. And there is a very remarkable difference between both type of stories. So why don't you guys tell us, like, okay, so while you were reading this book, was there anything that you were reading that got you questioning? Was there any passage from the books that you'd like to talk about? Maybe a quote that you thought was very fascinating that you'd like to share? Because the idea of having a book club is to make sure that, you know, like those thoughts that come to your mind when you're reading are expressed with your partners and we can talk about it. So if anybody would like to take the lead from Kabul on that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, dear Alia, I just want to add that before we come here, we also had 2 or 3 more sessions in one of our English centers. So we discussed the book, and you know, the students seem to be really enjoying the book. I'm sure they will have, they have some very good ideas. So let's come to them. So who's going to say anything about the book?
So I have a question from you. You know that this book invited a nice story. So which story is memorable or exciting for you?
Yes.
So again. So I told that you know, this book invited 9 or 10 story. So which story is exciting or memorable for you?
Yeah, I think
season.
Yeah, I think it's the chapter that she means. Which chapter was more intriguing to you as someone who also has read the book, and it's your favorite book, right?
It's not my favorite book, but it is a book that I revisit quite often. So I'll tell you something. There are certain books which make you question the reality of the life that you live in. And the thing about South Asian writers, and I and my colleague Hurmat were just discussing this in the morning, was that, you know, it's very raw. It's very close to our reality. And a lot of times it talks about things that exist in our society that we are not comfortable with. So we never talk about it. So these are the things that we shrug under the rug, so to speak, but they exist in our society, right? I mean, for example, if you had read this book, and by the way, this is one of the most thought-provoking books in terms of, you know, how we look at men and women in traditional roles in both Pakistani and Afghan societies, how comfortable we are for both of them to step out of their preconceived notions of what it is to be a masculine or a feminine space. And it kind of makes you look at these things in very harsh realities, right? So if you were to look at it, they talk about how women are objectified, you know, and then how women have to kind of really push themselves and a lot of times press themselves out there for their realities to become, you know, not what just society claims it to be. For example, you asked me what my favorite story was. So there are two stories which really, really resonated with me. One of them was the story, like I said in the beginning, about that woman who is, you know, like if you've all read the book, I'll just give you a quick summary of the story. And it's about this, this man who is a cleric, and he has daughters, and his eldest daughter, who's a very beautiful girl, is married off to this lad. And the man that she's married off to has a bear. And he has trained this bear to perform tricks. And that is how he earns his livelihood. Now, I mean, both of us in Pakistan and in Afghanistan have seen a lot of people out on the streets with some animal which has been domesticated, and they use that as sort of, you know, a way to earn a living. For example, there are lots of monkeys in Karachi. Like at the signals, we are stopped oftentimes by a man who has a monkey who's performing these random, you know, tricks, and he has a bowl and we give him money for it. And so it's like an art form. And I'm sure in Afghanistan that also exists. So then we have these people who have birds which are like little sparrows, which are put in a cage. And then at the signals, they ask us for money. And when we give them money, they release the birds, right? So these are like different tricks that they have. So in this book, that man has a bear. And that means that he was a strong man, he was a brave man, he was a good warrior, whatever you want to call it. And he has tamed this bear. And now this bear can perform tricks. Like it can sit, it can stand, it can do some twirls or whatever when the taskmaster asks him to do such things, right? And now this girl is married to this man, and obviously she has her vision of what her marriage should be, what her relationship with her husband should be, and what kind of life is she going to lead, like we all do. We all have dreams of how our lives are going to pan out. And a lot of times things don't go as we plan, but that doesn't mean that it should be a complete, 180-degree turn to what we believe our lives to be. Now, when she's married to this man, she realizes that this man has more time, love, affection for the bear than he has for her. And they are in this village, and there is just one room in the village that they can rent, and that room is given to the bear, and she and her husband are like sleeping outside in the open skies. And she is so affected by this, and she has been, because she comes from a small village, she has been told that a good girl is supposed to always look after her children, her husbands. So she now tries to compete with a bear for her husband's affection. And her husband tells her that, why should I be more affectionate or caring towards you? I can get another wife, but I can't get another bear. So that kind of gets her really shaken up. And then she decides to leave him and go back to her village, to her father. She goes back to her father and she tells her father what had happened to her. Her father is is a reasonable man, so he takes her in. And initially things are okay, and the villagers are like, oh, her husband will come back and take her. But when the husband doesn't come, she's a burden on society now. So she decides to run away. And then we don't get to hear about her. And then in the last story, she makes an appearance again. And then we find out about how she ran from a village and she crossed the border of Afghanistan into Pakistan. She came across this guy and she told her story to him. And she told him that now I have nobody, I have nothing, and I have to now figure out how to look after myself. So I need a job. And he tells her, okay, you come with me. I'll take you to the city. And over there, you will be able to get work as a domestic serf. And she's okay with that. And she goes with him. And over there, she finds out that, I mean, she doesn't even find out, but this guy is actually not interested in her becoming a domestic staff or finding her a placement in a house where she has shelter over her head and food in her belly. He's more interested in making a dime off her. So he's thinking of selling her off to the highest bidder. And there she comes across this guy who is the Wandering Falcon, we find out in the end. And he takes her on because he's also not interested in marriage. And then he realizes that, oh, I've been traveling for so long. I think it's time I settle down. So he marries her. So it's a strange twist of luck, which ends up taking care of her. And in our society, we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about circumstances that force women to go out of their houses or to push the envelope of what is predominantly understood as the norm of a society. So for me, these are the things that kind of, resonate with our reality and which make me think that, if we want to progress, if we want to move forward in the modern world, we have to think of ourselves as individuals rather than male or female. Because in Pakistan, 50% of the population is women. And exactly similarly, it is the same in Afghanistan. So if a country is running on only 50% of its manpower, it would only be able to do 50%. Now, on the contrary, if we were to use 100% of our manpower, we would be progressing faster. So it's things like these. And women work in domestic, women work in fields as, and all of this work is contributing to the economy at large, but is not registered as workforce. So it's not as if women aren't working. I mean, tell me, what do you see around you in Afghanistan? I'll tell you what I see around in Pakistan. We have a lot of female staff who work in households. Domestic work they do, they look after their houses. I know of a lot of villages in Pakistan or other rural areas where women work in the field. They get a little money by which they literally look after their households because their husbands are not earning a lot of times. Or if the husbands are earning, it's not enough to support their household. So tell me, what is it like in Afghanistan? And the story that I told you, is the story making you uncomfortable? Is the story kind of making you twitch and be like, oh, I don't want to talk about it? Because we don't talk about these things. Let's be honest.
Just a second, guys. We have also been joined by Sajir Sheikh. She is a writer and a poet based in Karachi, Pakistan. She's here for a short amount of time, for 15 to 20 minutes. Hi, Sajir.
Hi, guys. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me today.
Hi, we're very happy to have you with us.
Thank you.
Sajir, please introduce yourself, and we are connected with students.
Okay, so
your work and your experience as a writer and an editor.
Yeah, so I am basically a writer. I'm also a poet. I work at a digital media company in Pakistan called Mankobaz. I'm currently the editor and social content manager over there. I've been writing since the age of 8, and I've continued ever since. I've had my work published in various newspapers as well. I've been contributing internationally as well. So that's what I do. And I'm becoming a journalist.
We're very glad to meet you.
I'm really glad to see all of you as well. It's lovely to see all of you.
Students in Kabul, do you have any questions from Sajir about journalism in Pakistan, about being a media content manager and an editor as well? Any sort of questions about what kind of articles she does, or maybe what kinds of problems she faces while doing her journalism?
I think Wahida has a question. Okay, she's going to ask you. So now we have made our circle a little closer so that you can actually see us.
Okay.
I have a question about journalism in Pakistan. In one part of the book, there was written that in Pakistan, no journalist takes the risk of writing about years. Nobody takes the risk of writing and being in prison.
Sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you guys.
Yeah, Wanda, can you ask it a little louder? You can come to stand here.
Hi, Kabul. If I could just give a recommendation, maybe you could put a chair closer to your screen, and when a person is talking, they could come and sit on that chair. That is what we did with Bulk, and that worked pretty well.
So here's the spatial chair. Good suggestion, by the way, Alia.
Thank you.
In the book, there was written that in Pakistan, no journalist takes the risk of being in prison, because if they write about themselves, the country's problems, they will be in prison, they will be in jail. But they write about all the world countries' problems, but nobody writes about themselves problems. I want to understand what is the reason.
Sajir, could you get the question?
You still come closer, because we still couldn't understand what you were saying. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to repeat the question. So she basically asked about the challenges of being a journalist and writing about the issues inside your country, not outside your country. Do journalists actually risk about writing about issues inside the country or not?
Okay.
It's
so
freedom of.
Yeah, so this is actually a pretty big issue right now, because a lot of people are facing censorship in all forms, and there's so many things that we want to talk about and we can't talk about. There are so many things that happen and they're distorted in a way, and you can't even report the truth, because then you have the defamation lawsuit, you have enforced disappearances. So it is becoming increasingly difficult to write about certain things. You can't talk against certain establishments. You can't even talk against certain people, even if they're just celebrities. And it's just about the power that people hold. There's another thing that, when you write about your country's issues, your countrymen tend to get very annoyed. They think, oh, you're showing the negative side of Pakistan. But the thing is that those problems exist. Until we talk about them, we can't do anything to solve them. And that is a major issue, kind of making the public understand that we have to talk about these things, but also then combating with the different establishments and agencies and people who don't want you to talk about them as well. So it's definitely a challenge.
Okay, thank you, Sajir. I'd like to come back to Alia. I think she had questions from students from Kabul. What was your question specifically, if you can repeat that again? Thank you, Alia.
Basically, what I was asking while you were reading this book, and especially the story that I just shared with you, was there anything in that story that was uncomfortable for you to, look at or think about? And you were just like, hey, I don't want to really acknowledge this. So, I mean, it exists for this man or this woman, not for me. Did that happen, or were you able to look into it in a realism sense and be like, yeah, it does happen, and now we have to figure out how it doesn't happen more frequently?
Okay, thank you. Let's come to our students. I'm sure we will have volunteers to answer your question. Who would like to answer something? Yes, of course, and please talk loud. Okay, and can you come a little closer with the chair? That's much better.
Can you hear myself?
Yes.
Okay, so at the first, really nice to meet you, all of you. And so I will talk about the book. Some parts of the book really make me sad. At the first, that she ran away from home and go with her love. And when his husband and his father find her and they kill the man, the woman, it really made me sad. And after that, the story was about turbas. Turbas show me that how a boy can be strong. How we can make ourselves. It was a really good experience from reading the book that we should know ourselves. We should experience the different things, and we should travel place to place and know the peoples. And the book shows that the bad culture that we had before or the bad culture that we have now. It's something that a past talk. So we must change this talk, and we should be modern. It was a really good one, and I really interested from reading this book.
Very true. And sometimes, it's not nice to see yourself in that light. Like it feels uncomfortable, and you're like, no, this isn't how we are. We are not like this, but this is how we a lot of times come across. Like we come across as these people, even though we are a lot of different colors, we are a lot of different shades, we are not so absolute black and white. But I think like books like these really make us question our reality and make us think about things. And I think that's a good start. What do you guys think? Do you think like reading about these things and getting to know more about our culture, some good, some not so good, how does that?
Yes. Another student to answer your question. Is that okay, Alia?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Habiba. That was a very good answer. So who else wants to talk about what Alia asked? She basically asked about some of the cultures which are really bad. So any comments you have about that? Yes, come on, you can talk about it. Wahida, you like to talk about it? Yes, you can come here.
You have my voice, my sound.
Yes, I can.
We have some common, we have some similarities in our culture. Not a lot, but some. One of them is that the idea that we had in past. Our fathers used to marry their girls to the people they did not know while their daughters were really small, and that is really sad. That is really that really makes us be sad. So I blame the idea. I blame the idea that says that your daughters should not choose their loves themselves. I do not blame those people because before them there were humans who translated this idea to them. So it is not their fault. It is our past's fault. And that's all.
Very true. So let's ask Sajid, how does she look at this as a journalist? Does she agree with it? Does she disagree with it? How does she look at things?
Right. So I actually agree with what she's saying. So when you have an idea that becomes a reality for you, like for instance, if our forefathers used to marry off their daughters without asking for their permission, that was a reality for them. That was a norm for them. It's what they were, it's the mindset that was present at that time. And because they didn't have the awareness that this is wrong, because for them it was the way of life, it was the mindset that had to be blamed as opposed to the people. It takes a great deal of unlearning the things that you have been taught let's talk, for instance, let's talk about feminism, right? Like when we talk about empowerment, there's so many things that we have to unlearn, that, oh, we don't have to be misogynistic, oh, we don't, this is sexist, this is wrong. So those are all things that come with awareness, I feel. And it's absolutely true that we need to blame the mindset as opposed to the people, because the people in their perspective are doing the right thing. It's creating that conversation that, no, this is another way you could go about it. This is what could be done. Like, these people deserve rights. They have a say, they have a choice. So I feel, yeah, it's definitely the mindset.
True.
Yeah, thank you so
So anybody else from the group who wants to talk about the book, a part of the book that they liked, maybe share their summary of a story? Lovely. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Hi again. So I have a question from you. You know that this book is started by the sons of the mother, and you know the the protagonist of this story. So I think she shouldn't live with her lover. And if you be instead of Gulbi, what should you do? You will live with your lover, or you respect for your father?
I feel like the fact that we have to choose between two men is a dilemma of our society. We shouldn't have to choose between either of them. We should be choosing for us. And that is something that
I think you should father. So it's very important. Your father is your leader of the tree.
But what about you? Who are you?
If I be instead of Gulbi, I will respect for my father, and I don't live with my lover.
See, here's the thing. So, I mean, without sounding disrespectful, if you respect yourself, if you look to yourself.
So my father shamed the people of village, so it's very bad. So he's my father, and I should respect for him, and I don't live with my lover.
See, like, if you were not to think of your respect as connected to the respect of your father, and think of your respect as connected to you, then you wouldn't be doing things which are disrespectful to you. So there would be no lover or father to choose from, because you would be respecting yourself and wouldn't cross the boundaries which would make you feel disrespectful in any circumstances. Does that make sense?
Of the tree, that if our father say everything for us, you should accept it.
That is one way of looking at it. I think, like, one of the most important things that we must learn is tolerance, right? So if you as a human feel that you should be completely subservient is a wrong word, but be absolutely always abiding by what your father says, that is your decision, right? And I feel I am no one to judge you on that. It is your choice. This is your life. But you must realize that you are a human being, that you are an individual, and you have a right to look at yourself as an individual, to have things, to have likes and dislikes for yourself without having other people pressurizing you into thinking what you like and what you don't like, right? So that is one of the things that I'm a mother, okay? I have a 13-year-old daughter, and even at this young age, I try not to impose my opinions on her. On the contrary, I ask her. So even if it is something as simple as walking into her room or using her mobile phone, I need to give her the respect, because if I give her the respect, she'll learn to demand it. And tomorrow, when somebody is not giving her that respect, she will say, okay, you are disrespecting me. And that is something that we at large in our society have forgotten about. So, like, you know, the role of women, we always talk about the role of women, the emancipation of women, but we are really confused about what that means. Where is it leading us? Where is it taking us? We don't know, right? So first of all, we have to realize, what do we mean when we say emancipation of women? What do we mean when we say women empowerment? What are the things that come under this? You know?
This story is Sense of the Mother.
Come again?
I thought that why the title of this story is about the sense of the mother.
Because you see, unfortunately, in our society, most of the blame is put on women when it takes two to tango. If a boy and a girl run away, it is always the girl who has brought dishonor. Jabke it took her a boy to run away with. She didn't run away alone. But we have been, so what, like I was saying, we have been trained to look at things in a certain way. I'll come back to another story from the book. I'm sure you read that story as well about this boy and this girl who run away from the village and they're caught by pirates of the desert, and both of them are raped, right? And when the pirates go away, the boy and the girl wear their clothes, and the boy that she had run away with turns around and says that, what kind of a woman are you? Your honor was stolen from you and you have no shame. And she turns around and she says, it happened to the both of us. But why am I the only one to be asked about shame? And the story ends there. And for me, that was what I kept on thinking to myself, okay, why do we just blame one? Why are we, like, what in our society has trained us in this way? You know, so I don't have any answers, but I do have more questions, right? And I feel that having questions is a good beginning.
Yeah, you're right, Alia.
Okay, thanks.
Does that answer your question? Do you think I'm making sense, or?
I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense. So basically, she asks you if you're happy with the answer.
Okay, Miss, I have a question. I have another question from you. You know that the census, the mother destroyed the tribes.
Can you say that again?
I told that Golbibi destroyed the name of the tribes. You know that
tribe. Okay, yeah. So she says that Gulbibi brought shame or dishonor to the tribe. What do you think about that?
I think the tribe brought dishonor to her because they didn't protect her when they said they would.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alia. Yeah, you can say, but before we come to our students, I just want to say very, very shortly, okay, that there are some cliches in our society, the same as your society. And one of those cliches is that we always connect the honor of the father to the honor of the daughter, and also to their son. But specifically, it's more applied to the girls in Afghanistan as well. So we have total understanding and also sympathy for the girls in Pakistan as well. So yeah, I would like to come to the rest of the students if you have any specific question. And also, I think one of our students has a comment.
Yes.
Well, I think it's all about individuality. I think the people are important as individuals and not as the tribe. Like if something happens to that lady, the lady is being killed by the gun. It's not about that tribe. It's about the lady. The lady is being killed. And I think these issues are made in one day. Like this mindset has been made through the time, through the years, through the centuries, and it needs time to be like to clear it from our mindset. Like I think the new generation should think a little differently. But maybe some people are like thinking like the past. I think we should change this mindset, and it just needs a little time.
I agree. So, you know, like I find it so fascinating that I am from the north of Pakistan, so I'm very close to the border of Afghanistan, and so you know, like I remember when we used to be in Peshawar and we used to go to the Kissa Khwani Bazaar. So Kissa Khwani Bazaar is one of the oldest bazaars in the world. Okay, and it's called Kissa Khwani because it's known as the storyteller's market, right? So now the Kissa Khwani Bazaar's history is extremely fascinating, going back in time as far back as Alexander's, and it is said that everything that entered this region passed through Peshawar, and hence the name, the storyteller's market, because everyone who wanted to enter Asia entered through Peshawar, because that was the easiest road to come into from Central Asia towards Southeast Asia, right? And they would stop over at Peshawar, and there they would have their green tea called kahwa, and they would sit there in the night and talk about where they came from, where they were going, what all they had seen. And it is said that if you wanted to know what was happening in the world, or if you wanted to check the pulse of the world, all you needed to do was sit and have a cup of tea at a kahwa house in Peshawar at Kissa Khwani Bazaar. Okay, so we have had a very, very rich history of storytelling, and we have somehow forgotten the essence and the value of storytelling. We do not discuss things anymore. We take it as is, as an absolute truth, right? So when we read a book, we don't question the narrative. We take it as an absolute given that this is the truth, that there is no other truth but the truth that is written in the book. So for example, when you were reading The Wandering Falcon, there might have been parts that you would have agreed with. There might have been parts which you have thought, no, this isn't how it is. I've seen it like so. So the idea of having this book club is to talk about those things, the things that you read in the book, that you found fascinating, that, yeah, this is exactly how I thought the writer has captured what I was thinking or what I think about these things. And in the other way, it would be like, oh, so this is how it can be looked at. Oh, I never thought I could look at things in this particular way. So the beauty of literature or the beauty of stories is that it gives us more ways of looking at something. That's how I feel about reading books. So that is why I thought it would be so nice if both Afghan and Pakistani children get to read about each other, and not just the good stuff, but the stuff which isn't so good, the stuff which we are troubled with, the stuff. And by the way, the irony is the things that we are troubled with are things that exist both sides of the border, right? So we have issues about education in both countries. Education is it's not a given in our society. It's a luxury, and we don't even realize it. Reading books is not a norm. It's not a hobby of all the kids. It's a privilege. So these are the things that I feel like. So when I think about you guys reading a book, I think that, okay, these 20 children have read this book, and each child will go and tell 20 other children. And that ways we will create a network, like a chain of stories that will connect all these children, because now they will have something else to talk about rather than the constant drama of our everyday lives. We'll get to talk about something which is intellectually stimulating, which makes us question our realities, which makes us think outside the box. Like, I love the fact that you all said that, the last conversation that we had in which the gentleman very nicely said that history will take a little time to unlearn, right? I don't think everything is bad in our history. I think it has been distorted. And the beauty of life is that it evolves, right? So we're moving from our past, we're moving to our present and progressing towards our future. It's a continuous cycle. But if we take our history as an absolute truth and be like, no, there can be no alterations to our history, and we will take our 18th century into the 21st century, then we are doing a disservice to ourselves. We should take our 18th century to become a better version of ourselves in the 21st. The thing is, we should look at our society, especially through these short stories, and look at things which we can change. That's what I think.
Thank you.
Here I would like, we were talking about poetry and writing short stories in the beginning. I would like to ask Sajid if she would like to talk about her poetry and maybe read one of her pieces with us, and maybe we can discuss that piece and understand her writing process. Sajid?
I don't know about reading out a piece. I don't have one on me, but I can pull one out for sure. But I think in the beginning there was a discussion around going against norms, and there was a discussion around how your life can completely switch. And for when I was starting out, I was actually doing medicine. I was studying to become a doctor. And I then just decided midway that I can't do that, and I don't want to do that. It was something that okay, so this is going to tie into a lot of things that we've talked about, but my father and my mother were like that you have to be a doctor, and I said no, because for me that decision was more important. So I decided to become a journalist. I left medicine. I saved up some money, I got a job, and I started going to this other university where I'm now doing media sciences. So I think that in that instance, I had to put myself before my parents' wishes. And I understand how for a lot of us that may not be the case, because we have our own set of what's right and what's wrong. Like someone mentioned respecting one's parents. Absolutely, that's 100% important. If that's your active choice, that's 100% go for it. But at the end of the day, it's about active choice. Like if your active choice is that you want to be with someone and your family is not agreeing to it, then that's a decision you have to make for yourself, right? And I realized that I just had these points saved up in my head. As for writing, again, like I said, I started writing when I was 8. I was actually 10 when I published my first set of poems. It was a book called Dewdrops, and it was really silly because I was 10. And ever since then, I have been writing. So how many of you are interested in writing? Actually, I would really like to know.
Yeah, anybody is interested in?
No one? Does anyone write? Do you guys have anything written?
I'm sure they have, because reading and writing are always tied together. And they have some written pieces of the summary of the chapters, the points they liked about. I'm sure they have written a lot. So anybody would like to talk about writing, the importance of writing? Okay, yes. Mr. Khudadat.
Yeah, I'd love to. Okay, perfect.
Hello.
Hi.
Talk about writing,
yeah, so do you like writing? Do you have anything written? Would you like to read it out?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. I'd love.
I write one piece of paper every day, my journal or my daily routine, and I have project for 1 month. Which we should read one book. This book has 15 pages, and we school and daily routine.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, and
do you have anything right now that you can read out?
Have you written anything about the book?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Sorry. Yes. I have a short summary for this book.
Okay, sure.
So do you have it with you?
It's my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually a piece of writing on his mind.
Piece of writing. I write, but
No problem. No problem.
yeah.
You can very shortly discuss it.
Yeah. This story is about. I think this story is about culture. This shows the culture of Pakistan. The culture of Pakistan is the past. Like Afghanistan is so bad, and when two of us lost mother and father, it's so hard for her, for his.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Can
Okay.
you
Thank you.
the students wants to share her piece of writing. I think it is short.
Okay.
There. Okay, yeah. So if you have a time, you can just listen to her piece of writing very short. Yeah. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear you guys.
So.
Okay, so
yeah, they can hear you.
So I want to start. Of course, I have wrote a short summary of the book, and I should read it to you.
Yeah, you can just read one. She just wants to have an idea of what kind of writing you do.
Okay. So, you know, if I want to talk about a point of honor, it was how can I say? It was a season that talk about a point of honor. So there was about the 7 men that they go and find a boy. A boy was about 7 years old. So they find a boy. They look after the boy, and they were so how can I say, kind men. So they show how their honor. They show us honorable things. So this season was about the 7 men. After the season, I mean, in the end of the season, the 7 men was already dead. So they was so honorable. So this season was about the point of honor.
Okay, cool. So that's lovely, and to the student who came before, good job to both of you as well. I would just want to point out that, you know, when we look at writing, we see it as a very technical thing that, oh, we have to do homework, so we have to write, or oh, we have to, you know, have an assignment. Always look at writing as your means of expression. Whatever language you choose to write in, if you're angry, just take a piece of paper, write on it. If you're sad, take a piece of paper, write on it. It's helped me so much in so many things that happen in our daily life. I'll actually read a poem that I wrote. So I'm from Karachi, and Karachi unfortunately gets a lot of heat when it comes to the general political climate. Just you know, we're known to be sort of like an unsafe city. Unfortunately, it's not true, but you know, sometimes things happen. So I wrote a poem on Karachi, and I'll read that out to you guys, and I would love to hear what you guys think. Or should I read it out?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, the city screams, in each tongue it knows, yet each day calamity grows. A battered body, barrage of bruises. Those who plundered left shoddy excuses. The city wails to be heard somehow. Numbed to the pain, it's our turn now. The sun will set, the moon will rise, and we will perish before her eyes. All we broke and all she gave mingles now, this is our grave. Now this is a little pessimistic, but it was a particularly dark time when I wrote this, and it's about how we tend to destroy so much that we have been given to us by our country, by our city, and we're the ones who cause that damage, and we expect things to automatically become better. You know, it all starts at home, right? Like whether it's me littering or whether it's me causing pain to others, it all starts from one person. And I have to always be the best version of myself to make sure that you know, I'm not adding to the damage that already exists. Because one way or another, everything will end. And the way we're going, we seem to be fastening up the process. So this poem was about that, and I would love to know what you guys think.
Yeah, you're right. You're a writer, and I think writing something or writing novels need the big imagination. Okay, yeah. So I think you have a big imagination. So can you share your experience of your writing, how you will be excited after your writing?
Okay, absolutely. So I think what you guys are doing right now, which is reading, it's a great practice. I started reading from a very early age. I was the person who used to ask for books as birthday gifts. So I used to get like 12 books as birthday gifts, and I would finish them all in a week. I used to immerse myself in every, you know, fictional world there possibly was. Harry Potter is still one of my favorite books, even though J.K. Rowling is like really problematic. But I think it starts from reading, and it starts from reading good things, you know. Um, and a lot of people will dismiss a lot of literature, saying that this isn't for you, or this is not good. This is not good literature. Don't listen to them. Read what resonates with you. Read what you like. Read what inspires you. And then, all if you are into writing, or if you feel like you want to create a fictional universe, go ahead. There is no bad writing, because there is no one here to judge that writing. If you're writing for yourself, you can write anything. You can create any reality you want. If you have a crazy dream and you want to put it to paper and it makes no sense, do it. You will be surprised by how this has taken off. This particular idea of putting a bunch of things that don't make sense. The internet is so vast. You have apps like Reddit, where, you know, you can create entire threads out of your dreams. So there will be a reader for any kind of writing that you do. Don't let anyone police you on how to write and what not to write. I think that's the first step.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sajir.
Thank you.
Yes, used from your knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely talking to you guys.
Yeah, if she wants to say anything, because I believe we are approaching to the end of our session, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think there are just 3 minutes left for our session.
We can extend it to 5-10 minutes extra. It shouldn't be a problem, but we should start the closing down process.
Yeah.
Winding down our conversations.
Hopefully next time we will have students from Pakistan who also share their opinion, right? Since it was just the beginning, our very first technical issues, right?
So, guys, before we end, do you have your book? Do you have the book with you?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. So, would somebody be kind enough to read a passage from the book for us? Let's do a little recital. It's so nice to do recitals. Anyone? Or maybe we can have 3 kids. I don't know if more people are interested.
Okay, yeah. Shall we read from the very beginning of the book, just a paragraph or 2?
I feel like if there is a paragraph that while you were going through that you really liked, that you'd like to share with the rest of the audience, that really is a good starting point.
You don't have such a paragraph? Well, to choose one paragraph from one of your favorite paragraphs, right? Yeah, and you can start from paragraphs. I'm ready.
I want to read my purpose and heart work.
But she's saying to read paragraphs. Yes, Parwana. Parwana is going to read from her paper, but not the book. Yeah, that shall not be a problem, right?
No, no, no.
Now I want read one paragraph belong to part 1 about science of mother sense of mother. On that time, the condition was so hard, especially for girls. Even passing some days were so hard, which people of that place had a bad situation, problems of economy, culture, and extra. That people were so silly and tried everything negative. And on that time, family was like that to obligate your daughters to marry with the one who don't like and laugh. And that girl was by the name of Golbidi, but the girl left the other one after some discuss between the boy and the girl's father and that common people. The girl's father said, "My daughter is not a sinner from her birthday up to now, but they left a man and gone with him, and after some times they had kids." The boy said to the girl, "If your husband with your father found us, they will kill me, and I will kill you." In this kind, one day they found them, and the girl's husband beating the boy with a stool, and but that boy killed the girl. The girl they had son that after them the people by the name of Balut kept him.
Thank you very much, Haruna.
That was lovely. Okay, so now how about if I read you my favorite part from the book?
Yeah, we look forward to that, of course.
Okay, so here's what I have.
The number, if that's possible, so we can also look at our books here.
It is the last 2 paragraphs of the first story. So if you could open the page 21 of your books. Yes?
For page 21?
Yes.
Yes, page 21, I think it should be the last paragraph.
Okay. As the sun rose higher, he sat quietly, watching the clouds of sand grouse that appeared in the sky. Flight after flight alighted at the edge of the waterhole, dipping their beaks in the water and flying away back into the sky. Their peculiar chuckling calls and the whirring of countless wings provided him some diversion from the horror he had just witnessed. Then he was completely alone. The thousands of birds which had kept him company for a while had disappeared. With nothing to keep him occupied, he became aware of his thirst and hunger. He tried to resist it for a while, but as the pangs grew sharper, he finally walked over to the camel and opened the bag containing food. He ate a little, drank some water, and then lay down, squeezed against the dead camel as the sandstorm approached. So for me, the thing that really speaks about in all of these stories is, even though circumstances are harsh, life is tough, and we are living in a difficult time, there is so much beauty around us. We are truly blessed, you know. We have land that we call home. If it isn't what it should be, then we are its caretakers. We are the gardeners to this garden. So we should look after it. Rather than complaining about things that we don't like, we should try and work towards making it into things that we do. Because we are just not protecting it for ourselves, but we are protecting it for our coming generations. You know, and I oftentimes say this to myself that yes, there are lots of things that are wrong in my country, like there are lots of things that are wrong in your country. But if I don't have this country, I don't have a home, and I don't want to be homeless. So the thing about the Wandering Falcon is absolutely that it is quite dark, you know, but in the most beautiful way, because the way the writer talks about this land is with so much love. You can tell that when he's writing about the sand, the sun, the river, he feels it. It's like the breath that keeps him alive. And oftentimes we look at our spaces around us and not let its beauty absorb us, you know? So it's one of the things about reading a good piece of literature. You can smell the air. So who's coming next?
Alia, is there anything else you want to share?
No, I'm good. I was thinking that maybe one other recital from one side and then we can wrap up.
Anybody else wants to read any passages from the book? Okay, yeah, I think the students here are, let's say, done, okay, with the book. Anything else you want to say?
Can I go again?
Yes, yes. So Habiba is here again. Okay, let's see what she has to say.
So I come again. So you're right, what you said before, we must be optimists in our life. So I want to share my favorite paragraph of this book. You know, when the father of Gulbibi, you know Gulbibi? There was a beautiful paragraph, a beautiful sentence the father of Gulbibi said to people. He said that my daughter sinned. She sinned against the love of God and those of your tribe. But hear this also: there was no sin in her when she was born, nor when she grew up, nor when she was married. She was driven to sins only because I did not marry her to a man. So it shows us that the father of Gulbibi accepted that, yeah, there's my sin. There was not my daughter's sin. There's my sin that I forced her to marry with a man that he didn't love her. So it was so good that the man accepted his sin, and it really makes me happy.
I know, it makes me happy too. Lovely. So guys, you have been a fantastic audience and a fantastic group of kids who we really look forward to meeting again and again, reading all 12 books. I'd really like to thank Sajid for taking out time and being with us. And let's get connected again. The next book is going to be more fun. I think it's slightly lighter than what you're reading right now. So that should be fun. But I think we should not be afraid of picking up stuff which makes us question. It's a good thing. So have a lovely day.
Arya, the next book is going to be Threading My Prayer Rug. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a sweet book, if I might say.
Yeah.
So it's written by a Pakistani American, and she talks about how it is to be a Pakistani in an American society. So, I mean, she talks about the kind of acculturation that she's going through, which is always fun to read about, because it kind of gives us a window into things that we take for granted, you know, like things that
And
we're, yeah.
yeah, and she's also going to join us for the session, Sabia Rahman. Yeah,
Yeah.
the writer will be joining us for the session.
Wonderful news.
Yeah.
So have you guys ever met a writer before?
Well, we met Sajir.
Yeah. But like, have you ever read a book and then met the writer so you could tell them how you felt about the book?
I don't know about my students, but I did meet some writers when I was studying in university. For example, our professors who wrote books, we discussed about their book. Specifically, about one of our professors. His name is Michael Barry. He was our history teacher, and he wrote about Afghanistan and the history of Afghanistan. And it was a sheer delight when we talked about his book. And he was very passionate about Afghanistan. Yeah, it was a very good experience. And we're looking forward to our next experience. Let's see if you guys invite the writer. We would love that.
Yeah, so we've already invited the writer and she's already accepted. So be prepared to meet with her. So one of my favorite writers about South Asia is Tariq Ali. He is somebody who does not hold punches and writes extremely bluntly and has written a lot on Pakistan. He's a Pakistani himself. And I remember when I was supposed to talk to him about the work that he had done, I was really overwhelmed. And he has written a lot of work, okay? Like he's written around 20 books. And I had read these books over the course of my life. And I remember I was literally sitting and, you know, like going through it like I was going through a test, because I was so inspired that the writer was going to be with me and I could get to ask what they thought about a certain thing which I couldn't really understand. So when you're reading your book, your next book, Threading My Prayer Mat, I would highly recommend that you keep a journal with you and a part which you find confusing. You could ask Sabiha when she joins you, and she could tell you what she meant by what she said. You know, like we were discussing about how we feel about honor being with the mother or the father, and we were just being with the father or the lover, and we were just playing guessing games. Okay, so maybe this is what the writer meant, or maybe this is what the writer meant. But it would have been so much nice if we had the writer with us and the writer told us what he meant. He said, no, this is what I was going through. So please do have lots and lots of questions, and we really look forward to having you again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Alia. On behalf of the students from Kabul, I'd like to thank you very much. We appreciate that you allocate your time for talking to us about your experiences. Thank you very much again. We look forward to meeting you again and again.
Ditto. Good luck, kids.
Hafiz. Bye. Hafiz. Thanks, Sajir.
Thank you for having me. Bye.